Hey guys, in this video we're going to be talking about peekaboo punching power, timing and rhythm in a fight, and how power punching is really achieved, okay? Because everyone has punching power available to them. Everyone has the same tools that every other fighter on the planet has, every other person on the planet. Things like fast twitch muscle and all that stuff, it's all bullshit, okay? And if you learn how to use your kinetic chain correctly, you will be able to drive weight directly from the ground into your opponent's face. Now, first thing, we have to punch with both feet, all right? And this is a very, very important idea, and it's one of the reasons why Mike Tyson was so successful. We're going to see him giving like a pull counter here, and the reason we're going to be using the pull counters is because boxing is fought at a pace and a rhythm, okay? And it's important that you can interact with your opponent and be able to counter them. And sometimes you're going to use more athleticism, you're going to use more torque, more throwing your body around, as we see Mike Tyson kind of throws this hook here to get to the back foot, dodge that punch here, and now he crouches here and gets down, and now he's going to drive up from the ground with both feet into this punch here, in one of the best pull counters ever. You know, really, really good move. He's able to get off the line with Spinks's punch, and as we see here, his head goes where it was going to be going directly into his punch, but now you can see him take that slight angle. He crouches, gets low, and we can see him get into his correct footwork structure, okay? And he goes down and then up, all right? And now this is very important because the videos that I've been posting about the 2-foot punching on YouTube, people say all kinds of crazy stuff because they don't understand what's going on. And boxing is fought at a pace and a rhythm, and in this sequence here, he has to find a way to get off the line from the punch that's coming at him from Spinks, boom, and then get back on the line quickly enough to attack the vulnerable Spinks position. Okay, and it takes a lot of athleticism, it takes a lot of explosion, and we're going to be talking about how Anthony Joshua kind of does this very similar move, or a very similar tactic, right? But also, we want to take another look at Mike Tyson doing it again. Watch him approach the line, left foot, right foot, and then now as he gets to the back foot here, he gets his weight down, his opponent attacks him, and now he crouches. See how he gets to the ground? He's setting up his correct footwork structure, and now he can cross the line, and as we see, he gets his front foot down, driving off of the back of the back foot on the ball and driving a massive amount of weight into this punch. Beautiful technique, and again, one of the most common things that I've seen people say is that when you do this in front of a professional fighter, they're going to see it coming, okay? Now, Spinks is world champion, okay? He threw a punch at his opponent. His opponent crouched, got into a position to throw a 2-foot punch, and blasted out of it and almost dropped him. He does wind up knocking him down and dropping him in a subsequent sequence. But here we're going to take a look at Anthony Joshua doing some similar stuff here, okay? Now, as Frank Martin throws his jab at him, we can see, again, boxing is fought as a pace and a rhythm. And Frank Martin used, as we see him stepping with his punch here, he's stepping here, and he cannot get back to the ground fast enough. And as he throws that punch, he's using all his technique to explode into this speed. And Anthony Joshua is crouching, getting his weight down to the ground, preparing to drive his weight from this pull counter position into his opponent, okay? Again, boxing is fought at a pace and a rhythm that allows this stuff to be, allows you to interact with your opponent. And again, that pace and that rhythm, we're constantly looking to find ways to break it, to surprise our opponent. And there was a pace and a rhythm going on in this fight, or in this sequence here, that allowed Martin to think that he was going to be able to use this punch to get lead foot dominance, as we see here. But Joshua broke that rhythm by exploding into his 2-foot punching structure. Now again, he's walking around here, controlling with his lead hand, gets attacked, pulls to the back foot, crouches, and then comes up and blasts off both feet, okay? And then winds up getting a knockdown on Frank Martin. Again, a very, very, very common strategy for pull counters. Now, as we take a look at this next clip here, as they're going back foot, front foot, and then that punch comes when he sticks his lead hand out there and Frank Martin tries to jab around him. He pulls to the back foot to set up his front foot footwork structure and crouches and blasts into this punch. Now pay attention to the flexion in his knee, Okay, he goes from this crouching position, and now we can see that he's actually using his front leg. As we know, he's driving and pushing off the back foot. We know this part already, but he has to drive from the front foot to be able to achieve this as well. Okay, and again, very pull-up counter-like motion, disguising his ability to create his 2-foot punching structure to drive weight into his opponent. Okay, now what's another great example of this? Well, if we took a look at Tank Davis here, Tank Davis was casually getting outboxed, I would say, by Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz had some really great sequences, and Tank Davis was having a tough time keeping up with him. However, Tank Davis is really fast and really explosive. Okay, and that's one of his biggest assets, is that he's very strong and he can kind of keep coming forward. And I want to say, in Tank Davis's defense, he usually fights guys that are bigger than him. You know, he's not a big guy for his weight class, and this is just how boxing works. Okay, now as we see here, he's going to throw a punch at Tank Davis, and Tank Davis is going to take a step, crouch, and get his weight to the ground. And now he's created his 2-foot punching structure, flat foot on the front, ball of the back foot. Okay, and now he's going to throw this punch. And now look at how normally people tell you to pivot and twist your legs and this and that. Tank Davis is only worried about driving weight from the back foot here and maintaining his front foot footwork structure. This allows him to generate the most amount of power and drive the most amount of weight from our kinetic chain, the ground, into Leo Santa Cruz. Now again, is he telegraphing his move here? Is he finding a way to tell his opponent that he's going to throw a punch here? Well, spoiler alert, everybody on the internet, if you're standing in front of your opponent, he's going to try to punch you. Spoiler alert, right? That's just what fighting is. So Tank Davis is finding a way to interact with the 2-foot punching structure of Santa Cruz, and then he's just trying to find a way to get to the ground and then back up out of this position before Leo Santa Cruz can reset off of his own strike. Okay? And he's able to land. This is one of the best knockouts of the year. It was incredible. It came out of nowhere. It was brilliantly set up, brilliantly timed, and he was able to break, I would say, a lot of rules here, right? People say, oh, you got to keep your hands up. You got to do this. You got to do that. But they don't understand what's going on and why we practice this, okay? So he comes in here with this uppercut, boom, knocks Leo Santa Cruz out. Brilliant, all right? Now we're going to take a look at some of the training of Anthony Joshua, and we're going to say some good things, and we're going to say some bad things, okay? Now first, number one, when he throws these punches here, we can see that he's compromising his structure, okay? Sometimes both of his feet come off, but usually both of his feet wind up on the balls of the feet. And it's very important to understand that anytime we create a footwork structure, we have to have a base. We have to have one of our feet planted when we intend to drive a lot of weight from the ground, okay? And Anthony Joshua is not doing that here. However, one thing that he is doing, he's generating a lot of momentum. Okay, and he's trying to find a way to crouch and get low and then blast into this punch. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And as I told you before, boxing is fought as a rhythm and a pace. So if he throws this punch here and then his opponent tries to counter him in the next beat, down. And then he counters him. And then down, up, down, up, down, up. However, Anthony Joshua doesn't know all the rules of striking. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why he doesn't have the ability to take advantage of this strategy or this striking drill as well as he can, because he doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing with his head. He doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing with his hands. He doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing with his shoulders. And as we can see here, his foot is coming off the ground here. He doesn't exactly know what to do with his feet. However, he does know that this is one of the most explosive ways that he can practice this punch here. And generate force into the bag and get a good workout. Okay, I have a very similar drill that I've been showing on YouTube. I only talk about the first part. Okay, that's the first part, and this is why it's so important that you guys listen, because this is the base. If you guys fracture your 2-foot punching structure and you don't have the ability to drive weight from here, starting here, it's going to affect your ability to carry weight through here, through here, through here, through here, through here, through here, okay? It's going to affect the way that you are able to generate power through each little piece of your kinetic chain. All right? Because you can't carry weight through a piece of kinetic chain if it's being dissipated through an incorrect footwork structure. Okay? And that's just some of the things that are going on with Anthony Joshua's technique here. Now, we're going to take a look. Again, he doesn't exactly know what to do with all of those pieces, and we're going to see some of this stuff take place in this little routine here. Okay? Now, again, boxing is fought at a pace and a rhythm here. Okay? So he's going to be getting on the line here, and he's going to find opportunities to hide his down-up motion. Okay? Again, boom, boom, control, control. And then he goes down, up, and blasts into this hook. Not super hard, but we can see him finding ways to control the bag and then blast up into these punches. Again, boxing is fought at a rhythm and a pace, and your opponent is not always going to be able to interact with everything that you do, especially if you explode as fast as you can. Now again, control, 1, 2, and he crouched. He was able to use a right hand to disguise his ability to get into this position and then throw this left hook here. To be honest, mostly pretty good technique here on a lot of these punches here with the correct footwork structure, being able to get his weight to the ground. But there are some things that are just not going very well for him. Number one, I suspect that he always has his hands really tight in his guard here. And this is a big problem when you're looking to line your tools up with your opponent. Number one, we're going to take a look in a few seconds when he throws these punches. Okay? And again, most of his routine is pretty decent. Okay? He just doesn't know what to do with all of his pieces of his kinetic chain, and it stops this from being the most effective drill that he can get out of it. Now, as we can see here, his weight getting completely off the ground. He has no tool, no source of planted movement. And this means that if he were to miss this punch, his weight would be going flying out of Narnia, right? He might miss, and then he would throw himself off balance, which if he got tagged with any punch at all, even just tapped and fell off balance, that's a knockdown. Okay? And it could cause him to lose a huge amount of points because, as we saw in fights like Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos, for the most part, Teofimo Lopez won the first round. He dominated it. It was mostly easy. And then he gets dropped and winds up losing the round and losing a point for going down. A 2-point swing. Now, Kambosos really hit him with a good shot, so maybe that's not the greatest example. But the idea is that it's not that difficult to catch you falling off balance, especially if you're throwing all your weight into it. Now, the part that's bad about Joshua not understanding what to do with his hands, not understanding what to do with his feet, as we throw, see him take this step here? He's doing kind of the correct thing with his shoulders, getting his shoulder to the line. However, his hand here is not in a position to defend the line and allow him to get into this position. Okay? We know that he's only going to be in this position for a split second, but if his opponent were able to jab him just right in the face here, it's going to be able to disrupt his ability to drive his weight into this subsequent punch. Okay? So as he gets into this position, one of the most important things that he can do is guard the line with this hand. Okay? It's not important that he guard the line with this hand because we know that when he gets into that position, he's looking to do something like this. Slip here, throw a very, very fast and powerful and athletic punch that uses as much of our kinetic chain as possible. Now, Tank Davis on average probably uses about 90% of his kinetic chain correctly. Maybe 95%. Tank Davis is an incredible athlete. He has, for the most part, very, 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 very good technique for punching, even though I'm not the biggest fan of his fighting strategy. On average, his lack of an active guard, his inability to use moves like this more frequently during the fight because he's constantly trying to stay in a position to defend the line in one position, okay? Hands up, high guard-ish, and then not really moving his head or transferring his weight, similar to how I mean with Mike Tyson, right? As he's moving here, boom, boom, and he's able to fight off of these moves, fight off of almost any punch his opponent throws, because Mike Tyson is almost always ready to crouch to either side of the line, back foot of the line, right? And then into this punch, and I don't have an example of him going forward. But because of the fact that Anthony Joshua doesn't know where to put his hands and how to relax his hands when he punches. He doesn't know what to do with his hands. He's using all that brute strength. He winds up doing stuff like this in training that looks much more like the drill that he's doing, right? Where he brings his hand across his guard here, but it's not in a position to interact with what may come on that beat or on that rhythm, right? On which beat, you ask? On this beat here, right? Because if you move here without your opponent throwing a punch, you have to be able to stop them from hitting you and preventing you from leaving this position to throw a punch. Okay? And as you see Mike Tyson doing his, again, with the very pull counter-like motion, interacting with the punch as it comes, right? Instead of being prepared to interact with the punch if it comes, okay? And all those things are going to have a detrimental effect on Anthony Joshua's ability to get value out of his striking, especially because of the fact that when he misses a punch, because it's so exaggerated, because he doesn't plant his feet all the time, and some of these punches he's going to do here very well with the planted front foot, it makes this technique much more dangerous for him. But also, in Tank Davis's case in particular, whereas Mike Tyson, much more attuned to having a fight strategy. Okay, Mike Tyson is much more able to fight off of any position and explode, crouching, getting his weight low, and then creating a correct structure and blasting out of them. Again, which is the theory behind all of the peekaboo punching, right? The whole ability to do any of the peekaboo stuff is based off your ability to crouch, get to the ground, and explode up, and then again get back to the ground. But as we can see, Anthony Joshua, when he throws his punches and his heels come up, it prevents him from being able to do that. It prevents him from being able to understand where his momentum is going to go, because again, his tools, when he throws these punches, they're not lining up with his target here, right? Now, again, this drill is not necessarily a bad drill. It's the best drill that he knows to get the kind of workout that he needs and to drive weight into the bag. But there are a lot of ways to improve it. And if you guys want to know what those ways are, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System in the description below. Not only will I teach you the best version of this drill, I'll teach you where your feet go. I'll teach you where your hands go. I'll teach you what to do with your hands, what to do with your head, what to do with your shoulders. I'll teach you what to do with every single part of your kinetic chain so that you can throw these very, very explosive, powerful, and necessary punches in the best way possible, okay? Not only are these drills going to teach you how to get the most out of the punches that you currently have, the most out of your kinetic chain. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. But they will also teach you how to improve your power. By doing everything correctly with the correct kinetic chain, with the correct hands, with the correct shoulder positions, the correct feet, by doing everything correctly that way, you're going to be able to learn how to put a lot of stress and, how do you say this? Teach you how to get a real muscular workout. Not just get tired punching the bag because, oh, I punched it and my core is tired, or I punched it and my breathing and I gassed out. No, I'm talking about a real muscular workout, okay? Being able to tangibly feel yourself growing in your arms, in your legs, in your shoulders, in your back. Getting a muscular workout that's going to teach you that you're doing it correctly, okay? Not only that, I'm going to teach you your best punch, how to get on the line, how to do it, right? Not only teach you your best punch and how to improve it, but how to fight like this. I have an entire system on ways to set up all of your pull counters, set up all your probes, how to get on the line, how to make an attack with your biggest power punch that I will teach you in what I call the Big George drill. And again, Anthony Joshua is doing a very similar type of drill here to what I call the Big George drill. I have a bunch of different versions of it to teach you how to get all the work that you need in your kinetic chain. Not just the left hook here on the front foot, but all the punches. But how to get off the line safely, how to defend your positions, okay? An entire combat system based off of the theory of 2-foot punching and understanding that this is where your technique comes from. Now, what I want to point out also is that when Anthony Joshua fights somebody who is not as good of an athlete as him, this guy here, Frank Martin, he can be more exaggerated in his 2-foot punching style because he knows how much space and time he has and rhythm to throw this punch. Now, the reason that he's not as effective at doing this against someone like Alexander Usyk is because Usyk is actually a better athlete than him. Usyk has better technique than him. Usyk is better with the pendulum style, 2-foot punching rhythm and pace, and he's able to get to the line with an attack, off the line of a counter, and into another attack much more effectively than Joshua. And this is the reason why it's so important to learn how this stuff works, because this is the only way to bridge the gap, right? Somebody like Paulie Malignaggi said he did really good in the amateurs, and he had an impossible time bridging the gap in athleticism between his opponents, someone like Miguel Cotto, and himself. And instead of saying that, oh, it was this or it was that, he just thought everyone was on steroids, right? But this is the secret technique. This is what's important to understand, how to get the most out of your kinetic chain, not just so that you can get the most amount of power and this and that. It's also because when you learn to drive your weight this way, you'll use so much less energy fighting your opponents than you will if you have to explode and blast and do so many things incorrectly, right? Like Joshua does here. Again, not to pick on him, but there are a lot of flaws in this technique here, in this drill here, that prevent him from getting the maximum amount out of his kinetic chain because he has to throw and use this arm. Again, see, when I was talking about him doing those other routine, how he brings his right shoulder so far forward and his right hand crosses his guard. If he moves into this position against an opponent, he doesn't really have an opportunity to defend his position. Now, he can't move into this position as freely without his opponent having thrown a punch at him, right? He can still move into this position if his opponent throws a punch at him and then throw a very similar punch. No big deal. But it's important to understand what the rest of your kinetic chain is supposed to be doing so that you can defend the line as correctly as possible, but also not have to throw yourself as wildly and violently out of position if you miss, okay? Now, another part that's very important, again, you have to learn how to generate power with your entire kinetic chain if you want to be able to have knockout power. You have to learn how to use your offhand, right? Again, Joshua is doing a decent job of really getting that shoulder forward and ripping it back to generate momentum for his left hand to smash into the bag. And this is a very key part of striking. However, Joshua needs to learn how to not overdo it so much, okay? And again, he can learn how to do that simply by finding out all the rest of the rules of striking, okay? Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System. It's a complete combat system to teach you how to set up your best punch, how to drive weight from your entire kinetic chain, how to get on the line, land your best punch, get off the line. Yeah, it's a revolutionary series, a revolutionary system. And again, another side note here. If you're looking to learn exactly what it is that Tank Davis does to generate so much power, okay? Exactly what he does, not just with his feet, right, which is the giveaway, right? I'm giving you guys that part for free. But if you want to learn what fighters like Tank Davis, what fighters like Ryan Garcia, what they do with their hands to generate so much power, to generate so much speed, okay, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System. It will absolutely teach you the best way to use every single piece of your kinetic chain, not just so that you can throw your hardest punch, but so that you can also learn how to fight.